It's crazy to think that we're almost halfway done with the 2021 NASCAR Cup Series season. As a matter of fact, we're already getting some small discussions of what the Cup Series could look like come 2022 with all the silly season talks going on. In this video, I'm just going to go through some of the open rides, or at least speculated to be open rides, and potentially see who could fill in those seats, who moves where, and of course we have to talk about the potential expansions and new teams as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So the first car I want to talk about is car number 1 at Chip Ganassi Racing. Kurt Busch, there were rumors about him potentially retiring at the end of 2021, but in the past he has also stated that he would like to run the next gen car. He did indeed test it at one point as well at Charlotte, and Kurt Busch did also say, after a parody account said that he was going to retire, Kurt Busch practically said he was not leaving in probably one of the best ways possible. And there could be a good possibility that Busch may go elsewhere instead of being at Chip Ganassi Racing. For Kurt Busch this year, he's ran into some bad luck, but he could still always find a way to get the win that is needed the most. I certainly wouldn't count him out of discussions for still making the playoffs here in 2021. Recent articles have suggested that Kurt Busch would move over to the second 2311 car that has been highly speculated pretty much almost since the start of the season. So with that being said, who are possible drivers that could take over the number 1 car? Well, one guy that comes to mind is Noah Gragson. He might be poised to move up to the Cup Series, despite that though he's been struggling this year in the Xfinity Series. If Gragson does move up, let's face it, there will not be a seat open for him at Hendrick Motorsports. All 4 drivers are doing fantastic right now. Hendrick has taken the Cup Series by the storm. Why make changes? So with that being said, Gragson could wind up in this car, although that could be a little questionable having him and Chastain, a couple younger drivers, in both those cars. Plus, both of them are very aggressive drivers. If you want to go a different route, my next driver, and I'm probably going to be saying his name a lot in this video, Ryan Newman. Ryan Newman has said that he doesn't know what his plans are for 2022, but he has stated that he wants to continue racing. So if he is able to continue racing, perhaps this could be a landing spot for the Rocket. The next car number we'll mention is number 2 at Team Penske, which really wouldn't thought that number would be discussed in potential open seats for 2022, but with the recent news that Brad Keselowski has not only been offered a driver co-owner role at Roush Fenway Racing, but according to Bob Pockrass, it's a done deal. Now, of course, no official announcement has yet to be made, but it's starting to look like it's a matter of when and not if. So, let's say Keselowski does move over to Roush Fenway Racing and takes over the number 6 car. You have 2 choices, most likely. It's Matt DiBenedetto or Austin Cindric. Of course, the plan originally is that Austin Cindric will replace Matt DiBenedetto in the number 21 car at the Wood Brothers, which is pretty much an alliance team to Team Penske. Assuming that is a done deal and Cindric is lined up to take that car no matter what next year, Matt DiBenedetto has an option for Team Penske. So, I could see DiBenedetto potentially taking over the number 2 car. Not to mention, this would be DiBenedetto's best car yet that he has ever driven in his Cup Series career. He'll have one of the best out there on the track. Now, of course, it could also still be vice versa, that DiBenedetto could stay in the 21 and Austin Cindric could take the number 2 instead. Now, the next car I am going to bring up here, and it's a good chance that nothing will change here, but I want to bring up the number 10 at Stuart Haas Racing. Stuart Haas Racing is having an abysmal season so far. As a matter of fact, outside of Kevin Harvick, Custer, Briscoe, and Almirola are 26th, 27th, and 28th in the Cup Series standings. Almirola has been struggling big time when you got to remember that just back in 2018, he was in the round of 8. So it's really weird to see those guys at Stuart Haas struggle. If the number 10 were to become open and Almirola possibly is on the hot seat, perhaps I could see one of the JTG drivers of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. or Ryan Preece taking over this ride. I don't think Riley Herbst is necessarily ready to move up to the Cup Series just yet, but again, he does bring money, so it's hard to say. Again, there's also the chance that Eric Almirola will just simply stay put another year in the number 10.
Word up, yo!
So the next car is the number 16 at Kaulig Racing. Kaulig Racing has practically said we're going Cup racing next year full time. Who will be their driver? I'm going to go ahead and guess Justin Haley. He's been running a lot of Cup races this year for Spire Motorsports. I'm assuming he's prepping to get ready to potentially run with Kaulig Racing full time next season. I would assume that Kaz Grala will probably end up taking over Haley's ride in the Xfinity Series. I could see the possibility in that. So with that being said, I do think as of now, Justin Haley will take over the number 16 Cup car when Kaulig goes full-time in 2022. I've already talked about the 21. Again, DeBenedetto Cindric, you can debate that there. Let's talk about the 37 at JTG Daugherty Racing. Right now, it's being driven by Ryan Preece, but this season, that car does not have a charter. So what does that mean? Well, unfortunately, without the charter money, that team actually may not be able to run the full season. They've already said that Ryan Preece will not run the All-Star Open and will not attempt the All-Star race, which is very concerning, and Preece has been pushing that 37 to all it's worth. I do think Preece is a very talented driver, and given the right equipment, that's why I mentioned if Almirola gets booted from the 10, that maybe that could be a landing spot for Preece. And then again, some rumors have indicated, or some people have speculated, that maybe JTG Daugherty Racing moves to Toyota, that we could see another team joining Joe Gibbs in 2311 as another Toyota team, then possibly with some Toyota help that JTG Daugherty can run this 37 car with Ryan Preece in that car. If it's not Preece, I really don't know who else could take this car. Perhaps maybe JTG shuts down and just sticks with the 47. It's really hard to say. Okay, so next is the number 45, or, well, it could be any number really, but the second 2311 racing car. As speculated right now, the leading candidate to take the car is Kurt Busch. Again, he could bring in some really good veteran presence, and possibly Monster Energy follows suit. But then again, Bubba Wallace has Dr. Pepper as a sponsor, so maybe that's a bit of an issue. But if Kurt Busch moves over there, then obviously I've already said who could take over the one car. If it's not Kurt Busch, there's a handful of guys you could put in that car. Literally, there's like probably 10 to 15 drivers you can put in that car. So, some guys maybe like Harrison Burton or maybe John Hunter Nemechek or Ty Dillon could be some possibilities to take over that car. So again, as of right now, though, I'm going to say that Kurt Busch will take that car in 2022. Now, of course, I said Justin Haley will move to Kaulig Racing. At least that's what I'm predicting here. As for the 77 at Spire, teams like Rick Ware Racing and Spire Motorsports could be loaning or leasing charters for other teams next season. That being said, if the 77 does continue to run in 2022, assuming that it will, that Spire will remain 2 cars. I don't really know who would take this car. Most likely, maybe it's just where, a bunch of different drivers rotate the car as it runs full-time the whole season. Obviously, Ben Rhodes made his Cup debut this past weekend at Sonoma. I don't really know with this one, so for now I'm just going to say a rotation of drivers.
Don't you just hate it when your final words are Frogger for the SNES?
Okay, so next, again, potential new team, Junior Motorsports. I actually made a video not too long ago speculating who I think could move over to a Junior Motorsports Cup team, and well, things have changed because of the whole Keselowski-Roush situation. I think Justin Allgaier and Noah Gragson could be good candidates to take this car. I'll bring this guy up again, though, too. Ryan Newman. Why Ryan Newman? Again, he brings veteran presence. I think he could help build that team, and he's brought a lot of sponsorship since coming over to Roush Fenway Racing. So I think the same case could happen there with Junior Motorsports, and you got the Hendrick backing most likely. So again, Newman could be a potential good candidate, or perhaps maybe some other name that could take over at Junior Motorsports. So lastly, one more car to speculate, Trackhouse Racing. Justin Marks said in a recent interview that he would like to have a 2-car program in 2022. So with that being said, let's go ahead and guess the 97. So if Kurt Busch does not end up at 2311 Racing, maybe he can end up with Trackhouse Racing in a second car, which would make things a little easier if Monster Energy would have followed suit. And not only that, but can you imagine Kurt Busch wrapping up his Cup career with the number he started? I would say 97 could be a good number to use, just because Daniel Suarez ended up using that number in a Pro Invitational race earlier this year. So that would be a pretty cool reunion if Kurt were to grab his old number and join Daniel Suarez at Trackhouse Racing. Or perhaps, maybe, again, I could bring up Ryan Newman. Maybe Eric Jones could be a good candidate. Again, the 43, that's been rumored to potentially be a Toyota team as well. So either JTG or Richard Petty could move over next season as well. Maybe Ty Dillon could be a good candidate as well. So I have to ask you guys, if Trackhouse expands, who could you see potentially take over that second car? Lots of possibilities, a lot of different things can happen. This video could even be pretty irrelevant here in a month or two, or heck, even less. So there's some speculation about some open rides. Let me know if I missed any rides by any chance. Again, I only listed some notable ones, but if I missed any notable Cup rides that you think should be, you think I should talk about, let me know and I will happily discuss it in the comments below. That's gonna wrap this video up. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Sonicals831, and I will see you in the next video.